Elise, continues to be a study in contrast then, the violence in Gaza and the great deal of fanfare and celebration that really just wrapped up in the big moment in Jerusalem.
That's right, Kate. As much as it is a crushing blow for Palestinians who feel that the U.S. has really not only disrespected the Palestinian people, but also its traditional decades-long role as peacemaker and honest broker of the Middle East peace process. Here in the embassy compound in Jerusalem, the Israelis are jubilant. They're emotional that after 70 years, the U.S., its closest ally, has finally recognized Jerusalem as their capital. We heard, as you said, from President Trump, Jared Kushner, who was really the keynote speaker and received such a standing ovation. The name of all U.S. officials, John Bolton, Nikki Haley, neither of whom were here, but received standing ovations. This is a really, I think, kind of solidified the bond between U.S. and Israel and these administrations of Netanyahu and President Trump. Even though the U.S. and Israel have traditionally been the closest of allies, today Prime Minister Netanyahu said, we have no better friend than the United States, and he certainly didn't think that under President Trump and under President Obama.
That close relationship has long been there, but today, between these two administrations, never stronger for sure when you see this move of the embassy. Elise, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Great to see you. Joining me now to discuss this very big moment, Kimberly Dozier's here. She's a CNN Global Affairs analyst. John Alterman is a senior vice president at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Great to have you both here. Kim, if today, and maybe that's a big if, but if today is day one of a new reality with regard to peace, what is the new reality?
The new reality is the Trump administration has said to the Palestinians, you took too long, you had opportunities, now you've lost something that was a potential prize. The pressure's only going to get worse from here in terms of the pressure of Hamas on the Palestinian Authority. Administration officials I've spoken to hope that this high-stakes moment will actually convince the Palestinian Authority that this is their opportunity to get something. But of course, Mahmoud Abbas has said he won't come back to the table unless some portion of East Jerusalem is on the table. And I can't get an answer from the White House on whether East Jerusalem, some part of the neighborhoods, could be part of a future Palestinian capital. And possibly they're keeping that question mark out there to increase the pressure on the Palestinians.
Oh, it's interesting. John, many presidents have promised to move the embassy in the past, and then citing national security concerns, do not do it. Is anything different today with regard to the concern over national security, or is it just because President Trump wanted to do it?
I think he wanted to do it. The president thinks that experts are full of hot air and people said this would be a disaster. And he says, look, it hasn't been a disaster. There hasn't been the kind of blowback in the Arab world and in the broader Muslim world that people projected. And I think he used the same logic to support pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal. There had been a game between presidents and Congress where Congress would do a politically popular thing and talk about moving the embassy to Jerusalem. And the president always said, well, not right now. And I think this president has been bent on showing that he's not going to play the old games and he's not going to be bound by the conventional wisdom.
Kim, for decades, the United States has sought to portray itself as the kind of quote-unquote honest broker between in any peace negotiation, in any peace deal. After today, can the United States stand behind that?
I think already some of the reaction from the Arab world is showing this is going to be a slow burn that ultimately hurts Washington's reputation overseas. We've seen the head cleric of Al-Azhar Mosque in Egypt denounce it. I think what it's doing is fulfilling some of the worst fears of the Arab world about this administration and the U.S. writ large, and that while that won't in the next month perhaps produce violence, it's affecting this generation. Conversely, what Trump administration officials will tell you is that now that we have given the thing that Israel most wanted, we can play hardball on other aspects of the peace process, like how many settlements need to be removed and given back in terms of Palestinian territory.
And really, flipping the script, if you will, or changing the strategy. I mean, that's an important thing here, possibly, John. The issue of Jerusalem, of course, has been such a tough issue. It's been so tough an issue that negotiators have long left it to be basically the question in the final stages of any peace deal. As Kim was laying out, they've now put that out there so quickly. If they are flipping the script on this, do you leave open the possibility at all that it could work? Try something completely different. It sounds very similar to North Korea, the approach to North Korea.
I don't think that Jerusalem was so hard, so much as Jerusalem is considered to be the biggest prize, and you wouldn't want to give it away too early. I think what the president's done is in many ways, he made a preemptive concession in order to change the climate rather than holding it to the end. The question is whether the president really intends to deeply engage, whether he intends to really deeply pressure the Israelis. I honestly don't see any sign of that whatsoever. I think the president used this as an opportunity to say the conventional wisdom doesn't matter, and we're going to move forward. Everybody understands that Israel's the capital. It's where the prime minister is. We keep driving up the hill. We're going to recognize as the capital to show he's unconventional. I think the cause of Arab-Israeli peace has definitely been sent back, while Arab governments remain very close to the Trump administration. Arab populations, as Kim suggested, are becoming increasingly estranged.
Let me play for you what the president's new national security advisor, John Bolton, has said about the move just yesterday. Listen to this.
It's a recognition of reality. If you're not prepared to recognize that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, and that's where the American embassy should be, then you're operating on a completely different wavelength. I think recognizing reality always enhances the chances for peace.
John, do you see that? I mean, that last bit I think is an important part of the discussion. You're hitting on it just a bit, but recognizing reality always enhances the chances for peace.
No, it does, and there's some ambiguity with Israel. Certainly the Mossad is based in Tel Aviv. The Defense Ministry is based in Tel Aviv. There are a lot of Israeli institutions that deal a lot with the United States.
And the U.S. ambassador to Israel is going to split his time between Tel Aviv and Jerusalem.
And the fact is, my friends who've been the U.S. ambassador to Israel have split their time between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. The question is, if you're making this change, do you get anything for it? And I think the Trump administration so far has not shown any signs that it's gotten anything tangible that it's really wanted from the Israeli government for doing this. The Obama administration didn't have much to show for its hardball policy, but I'm not sure that a policy that's more accommodating of Israel has given the Trump administration much more, if anything at all.